Good evening. Welcome to the Wareham Conservation Commission meeting of August 16th, 2023. The Wareham Conservation Commission will hold a meeting under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the General Laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act and/or the Town of Wareham Wetlands Protection Bylaw Division 6 and any other applicable laws on Wednesday, August 16th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. All matters listed may involve a discussion and possible vote. All hearings of the Wareham Conservation Commission are held simultaneously under the authorities of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act and the Town of Wareham Wetland Protection Bylaw Division 6. Although a single decision of the Commission is issued, it represents a separate decision under each authority. The first hearing, please. Introduce yourself, please.
Carol Melanson.
Sandy Slavin.
Kwame Bardi.
Michael Mercier.
Autumn Wood.
Joshua Faraday.
Paula Jean O'Neill.
Thank you. Now you can have the first hearing.
Oh, thank you. I just want to say your shirt and Josh's shirt are pretty colorful.
This is Alan's. I grew into it.
Oh, okay. Wow. Start wearing these shirts.
Are we commemorating Woodstock, which I believe was the anniversary recently?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just a thought. See, I have this this day in history book, and I noticed that from like yesterday. So anyway.
Okay. Request for determination of applicability for Warren 176 Main Street, GAF Engineering 266 Main Street, Wareham, Mass. 02571 to construct a small parking field, stormwater infiltration galleys, a 24-foot times 22.5-foot concrete patio, and a 2,000-gallon grease trap within land subject to coastal storm flowage on Assessors Map 47, Lot 1113, 176 Main Street, Wareham, Mass.
And who's here representing this project?
Brian Grady with GAF Engineering here for the applicant.
Okay. You're up, Brian.
Thank you. Assuming all of you have had the opportunity to look at the plans or maybe visit the site. This is 176 Main Street, just shortly before you get to the bridge. What they're looking to do is repurpose this building, converting it to a restaurant and an arcade. The only resource area on the site is land subject to coastal storm flowage. It's already, if you've been there, seen a highly developed paved parking areas building. But most of the proposed work will take place behind the existing building to put in a gravel parking area, some handicap spaces, and a patio. Stormwater drainage is being provided. There's very little grade change. Actually, a little bit of material might be leaving the site, so there's no fill being added in the land subject to coastal storm flowage. Property served by existing municipal sewer, municipal water, and there's very little change in the front. Erosion control measures will be put in place along the existing edge of the parking just before it gets to Main Street and along the, I believe it's the easterly sideline. So that's a very quick snapshot of the project, if I can respond to any questions.
All right. Josh, comments?
Yeah, so I will remind the commission that we visited this site earlier this year. It was maybe January or February, where they had a violation of the clearing in the back. That was taken care of with the filing, and all that work seems to be in order. It's not normal to review RDAs, but since it was so recent, I just wanted to bring up the fact that they did meet the requirements of that first permitting phase. I see no issues with the current proposal in front of the commission, and the recommendation would be to move forward.
Okay. Carol, questions?
No questions.
Kwame?
No questions, thank you.
Michael?
Just a couple questions really quick here. The parking lot surface is the front. What is the front going to be exactly?
Front's going to remain.
The front's going to remain because it looked like on the plans it looked like it's going to be like crushed stone or something?
That's the back. Behind the building will be converted to crushed stone parking. The front's going to remain. A grease trap will be installed, so a portion of the parking lot will be saw cut, excavated, but it will be backfilled in pavement, put in its place to match the existing.
Okay, so the back's going to be so the back's going to be a crushed stone. Okay, and what about drainage?
Well, the drainage for the area in the back, on the plan, we have hooded catch basins with infiltration galleys.
Okay, all right.
And the project is currently before site plan, for site plan review. There'll be a third-party review with the planning board's consultant.
all right, thank you.
Autumn,
No questions, thank you.
Paula Jean.
No questions, thanks.
I have none. So anybody in the audience or online would like to comment on this project? If no one online and no one in the audience, Josh, your recommendation?
Staff's recommendation is a -2 and a -6.
I'd like to close the hearing.
Move to close the hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hearing is closed with a vote of 500, and the recommendation is a -2 and a 6.
Second.
I need a motion.
So moved.
Thank you. And I heard a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, so that was a 500. Get your paperwork from Josh before you start anything, okay?
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you. Next one, please.
Yeah. This is a request for determination of applicability for Kenneth and Teresa Lovely, 5 Priscilla Avenue, Wareham, Mass. 02538, to replace an existing 13-inch concrete wall in the same footprint as an existing concrete wall on Assessors Map 124, Lot 9224, Harding Avenue, Wareham, Mass.
We need to correct that address. It is 5 Priscilla Ave. Will that make a
Yeah.
difference in the hearing if it was posted to the wrong address?
It shouldn't, because the address was posted twice.
All right.
So there was a correct address posted. It shouldn't
Okay.
have an issue.
And
with
who's
the
here representing the project?
Ken Lovely. And I believe you mentioned it was an existing concrete wall.
Replace an existing 13-inch concrete wall.
That's what it said in the
says.
ad, and I understand it is wood.
It is.
Yeah, that was my fault. Sorry.
Railroad
Yeah.
ties.
Okay.
Yeah, again, it probably no difference.
Okay, Ken, would you like to talk to the project, please, so we can,
Well, as you see, it's an existing railroad tie wall that's leaning quite a bit. And we have a contractor that would like to come in, take it out, and put in some Allen block wall with a cap. It's just a paver. We're not looking to go any higher or any wider with it, and the contractor will put in a silt fence to hold back anything from getting into the sand or water.
okay. Josh?
Yep. So the replacement of the timber wall, no encroaching into the resource area, replacing kind, with the condition of erosion controls on the water side of the inland bank there. So my recommendation is the issuance of a negative determination.
Okay, questions? Carol?
Are these concrete blocks that are going to be
They
put
are,
in
they're
for the caps in the block?
The caps and blocks, yeah.
Okay.
The half round.
Okay, thank you.
Kwame?
Oh, no questions, thank you.
Michael?
No questions, thank you.
Autumn?
No questions, thank you.
Paula Jean? And I can tell it's a recent picture because your hibiscus has shed flowers all over the place.
Every day.
Is there anybody in the audience or online that would like to comment on this project? I'm seeing none.
Move to close the hearing?
I have a motion to
Second.
close and a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, 500 to close the hearing. Now we'll take the recommendation, please.
The recommendation would be a -3 and a -6 with the condition of the silt fence being placed before the work begins and not removed until after everything's stabilized.
Right, so moved.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, was 500. What we would like you to do is contact Josh so he can confirm that the silk fence has been placed properly before you start the work.
Great, thank you.
Okay? Anything else? I think that does it. Thank you. Next, please.
Okay, this is a request for notice of intent for Robert Peterson, 86 Shore Avenue, Wareham, Mass. 02571, to replace the existing deck attached to the rear of the house with a completely new deck of the same dimensions. New footings will be installed on Assessor's Map 50D, Lot 125, 86 Shore Avenue, Wareham, Mass.
Thank you. Anybody here representing this project, come forward. Thank you, and please identify yourself for the record.
I'm Daniel Kennedy, owner of Kennedy Construction. I'll be doing the work that's on the docket.
Okay, can you talk to us about,
Well, Robert Peterson and his wife Judy have an old deck on their house, and they want it replaced with an exact same size deck, only newer components. Same kind of a wooden frame, pressure-treated wood, with composite railings and posts. And it's going to require new footings, which will be, within the footprint of the deck itself.
Josh, comments?
Are the stairs going to be the same landing access as well?
Everything's the same, except that set of stairs here is going to come down to a platform, and then two sets will come off of that, one to the left and one to the right.
The recommendation would be a -2 and a -6.
Okay, questions? Kwame?
No questions, thank you.
Carol?
The footings, are they sonotubes now?
I really don't know what's there for
Oh,
footings
you don't know
now.
what's underneath?
I'm assuming, well, I'm going to put them in different locations anyways, because I'm going to construct it a little differently, so I know it's going to need new footings. I'm not sure what's there. It's pretty old. I doubt it's even sonotubes. It may just be blocks,
Okay.
but I'm not positive on that.
Okay, so you'll be putting in entirely new footings for the whole thing? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, Michael?
No questions, thank you.
Autumn?
No questions, thank
Paula
you.
Jean?
No questions, thank you.
I have none. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to comment on this project? Anybody online? All right,
I motion to close the hearing.
thank you. I have a
Second.
motion and a second to close the hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
500. Josh, your recommendation, please.
The recommendation is a -2 and a -6 determination.
Thank you.
So
So
moved.
I have that motion,
Second.
and I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 500. See, reach out to Josh before you start the work. Okay, for the paperwork. Okay, thank you. Enjoy your new deck. Next one, please.
Okay, this is a request for notice of intent for Buzzards Bay Coalition. 114 Front Street, New Bedford, Mass. 02740. Invasive plant management to control approximately 0.8 acres of invasive plants fringing a newly restored section of shoreline along the Weweantic River on Assessors Map 80, 81, Lot 1000 and 1018, 36 Station Street, Wareham, Mass.
And Sarah, please identify yourself.
Sure. I'm Sarah Quintal, restoration ecologist for Buzzards Bay Coalition.
And this is back to your baby.
It
It
is.
still looks great.
Thank you.
Well, you got to get rid of those little nasties that keep cropping up. I'm sorry.
Working on it.
Sarah, please describe the project.
Sure. Do you need green cards?
I'll take them.
And
Thank you. No worries.
okay, so this is the at the Wee Wee Antic River Reserve at Horseshoe Mill. The thank you, Josh. So on this map, this is a site that we have done significant restoration on, starting with invasive species management back in 2018 ahead of a dam removal project. So the dam is located on this map. So the dam itself was a very old structure that had been there for many, many decades. After a long number of years with feasibility analysis and design, we were able to remove that dam in 2020. We wanted to make sure that there was invasive species management in the work area prior to any ground getting disturbed in order to give the restoration the best chance at being successful with native plants taking over the area once that dam was taken out and the impoundment was able to become a river again. And that has been going very well. The site has revegetated very, very nicely with largely native plants. We were able to successfully control about 2.7 acres of initial plants, invasive plants, that was largely just over 2 acres of Phragmites in the impoundment that's just to in the lower right of this particular map, and then about another half acre of Japanese knotweed. There's the Phragmites patch outlined. The original patch is outlined in yellow, and what you're seeing in this map is the sort of orange speckles are the very sparse Phragmites that's still occurring. It used to be all dense, 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 and with the initial treatment and then spot treatment following up has worked really nicely, where now it is largely native plants, but we still get these sort of wisps of Phragmites here and there. And so the annual spot treatment is very effective at staying on top of it and continuing to whittle it down. So every year it has gone down less and less, and that's where we want it to be, less and less and less. But nonetheless, it is important to go out and monitor every year and do that spot treatment to prevent it from becoming a big mess again. So our permit for invasive species management did expire back in December, and we do want to have the opportunity to be able to continue to do spot treatment out there for invasive plants. As I mentioned, there's roughly about 0.4 acres of very sparse Phragmites still out there compared to what was very, very dense 2.2 acres before. So this is a view of the river restored behind, or I should say above, the former dam. So you can see it looks much more like a river, not a pond, but yet it has tidal action. So depending on what tide you're there, sometimes it looks more full than others. But this is a good example in this photo of sparse Phragmites coming in. That's a new patch in on the upstream side of the former dam with the former dam. You can see the bridge in the background that goes above the structure that was removed. One new invader on the scene that we hadn't seen during the initial assessments was an invasive gray willow. And this is a species that we knew was present way up in the upper impoundment near Faring Hill Road. And so it's sort of a matter of time before we probably saw it downstream. And so this is the first year that I have noticed it. I think we were also focused very much on the Phragmites. And once you peel those layers of the onion back, sometimes those other invasives become then apparent. So we are interested in trying to take care of those before it too becomes out of hand. So right now this photo is an example of gray willow in its infancy. Here it's only a couple of feet tall. So this is the stage when we'd like to be able to manage these particular invasive plants before they become out of hand. And in this photo, you can also see sort of these gray sticks. That is the remnant dead Phragmites that we successfully were able to control. And then there's lots of green native plants in the picture too. But basically what we're doing is people who can identify these plants well and who are certified pesticide applicators are the ones who are doing this annual monitoring and doing the spot treatment so that there are no other detrimental effects to any of the good vegetation that we want to see really thriving here. So what we are asking for is permission to continue to do the invasive species management long-term. One thing that we have been able to do at one of our other restoration sites in the town of Fairhaven is a perpetual condition where we don't necessarily have to come back every 3 years for a new permit, as long as we're doing just basic annual monitoring and spot treatment of these invasives. So I am wondering if that is something that if the commission might be amenable to considering a perpetual condition here to allow for long-term invasive species management. That is something that would help us with just minimizing paperwork long-term and be able to keep this site on our annual monitoring list.
Now, how often do you give an update to Fairhaven? Was it Fairhaven you said they have?
It's Fairhaven, yeah. So lately it's been more frequent because we're still in the midst of construction there. So we started, but essentially once a year.
When would you expect to, sorry, I'm going to take this over for a minute. When would you expect to come before us to give us an update on how you're doing? Once every 2 years? What is the normal?
It could be at the commission's discretion.
Okay, then I'll go around for the questions. Carol?
No questions, thank you.
Kwame?
No, it's pretty impressive, but is it all done by hand?
It is.
I'll be out there for a while, but no questions, thanks.
Michael?
I guess the only question I really have is what time of year do you guys out there, even though it's done by hand, it's not like you're out there with like massive machinery or anything like that, but I'm just curious, when are you out there?
It's largely by hand. So basically I go out there usually in mid to late spring, and I do an initial assessment of what's out there. So, for example, we've reduced the Japanese knotweed to almost nothing, but yet there's a few that come back. So, almost not even enough to map. It's like a spot here, a spot there. So I'll deal with those earlier in the season, and then in late summer. So usually late August into September, I'll come out and treat the Phragmites. So we basically try to time it for what is the opportune time to deal with the plant when it's more susceptible and smaller sized.
All right, thank you.
Autumn?
I want to thank you for the detailed package. That absolutely helped paint a picture of the whole story. The only question I have is, I know you said that you're going to go out by hand to spot treat. I read through the package and I saw that there were 4 methods that could be applied. Are you able to give more detail on the exact method you'll be using?
Yeah, so in the very beginning, when we first started the treatment, when the stands were very, very dense, that's when the more intense sprayers were used. But now that it is at a much more manageable level, much of it is done with hand wicking. So for the Phragmites, for example, we use a glove technique where we're wearing a cotton glove over a rubber glove, and then you saturate the glove and use that to literally wick each individual stem of the Phragmites. And it's very painstaking, but it's very effective. For things like the willow and the couple of stands of reed canary grass, there we would use backpack sprayer. So again, it's still by hand. It's still there's no machinery. We carry it in, and we're able to stay very, very targeted on just the plant of interest.
Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
Paula Jean?
Yeah, I just have a question, sort of a comment. I know how terribly labor intensive it is to try to remove invasives without glyphosate. But has any thought been given to trying to get away from using that? As Buzzards Bay Coalition, a wonderful organization, I look to that as one of the conservation leaders and sets the example of how we do things. And I know it's much more difficult without the chemicals, but more and more we're finding out studies are being done and finding out how harmful Roundup is, and the other one they use as well. And at some point, DDT was popular until people started thinking about it, and it got phased out, and then it became illegal. the EU has tried to pass legislation to stop the entire use of it. Has anyone thought about, even though it would be a killer job, trying to go that route and set the example for everyone else that it can be done without poisoning our environment?
It's something that we continue to give a lot of thought to and consider every time we're deciding what is the best tool in our toolbox to get a job done.
Yeah.
So when we can hand pull, we do. When we can just do something with cutting, we do. But in order for plants like these that are very tenacious, what we found to be most effective is just getting as targeted of a treatment as possible, where you're not getting it, you're using it as judiciously as possible. And I agree with you that that particular chemical is way overused, way more than it ever should be in way too many sectors of our economy. But I do feel as though it can be used safely and very judiciously in very small amounts, like we do here. I mean, it's very minimal how much we actually use, and we've been using it now in this way for about 10 years, and we're not seeing any impacts beyond the target plants. If we were seeing impacts beyond the target plants, we would definitely be going with a different approach. But so far, we feel like we have been able to use it as judiciously as possible and very safely by using people who know what they're doing and are very skilled at knowing exactly which plant they need to be targeting. And we've been able to see the habitats absolutely come back thriving and flourishing without any detrimental impacts. That being said, I do continue to keep my ears and eyes open and talk with other colleagues in the field. And there are not a lot of choices because of how these particular plants grow, the knotweed and the Phragmites. For other invasive plants, like for the willow, I am able to use something like triclopyr. So that is what I would choose to use for the willow. But for the Phragmites in particular, right now, glyphosate is sort of the best tool in the toolbox, used judiciously. I have heard about with success with one other type of chemical, but it is actually much newer on the scene, and those effects are still a little unclear. So again, we sort of take in all the information and use what we feel is the safest solution for the particular use and site.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The gray willow, you're a little quick in saying, how do you plan to treat them?
So that one was with backpack sprayer.
Backs, okay.
For the smaller, there are a few tree size ones that are along the edge.
You'll have to cut.
And so those cut stump treatment is going to be more effective. So basically, that's a chainsaw at the
cut
base,
and then treat this
freshly painting the cut stump.
Because those invasives, if you go digging and you don't get all the root, they come back anyway. They're as worse as bittersweet.
Right. Yeah.
Have you seen any bittersweet?
There is some, but it's not a lot. It's one that if it's out there, I do yank it. That's one that is very yankable. So that one.
Those orange roots, you know exactly what you got.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm sorry. Josh, your comments?
I think this is a great continuing project, and the recommendation would be, standard order of conditions, special condition of allowing treatment in perpetuity with a yearly notification to the commission, just giving a brief description of, what your target is for maybe the season. And that could be as informal as an email, or you could ask for maybe a few photos and a presentation to the commission at a hearing.
And I just have a quick comment for you.
Sure.
Beware, because we now have bittersweet nightshade. I found it in my yard. So, and I never had it before. It showed up last year. So keep an eye out, because that's a lot worse than bittersweet.
Yeah, that's so the gray willow is one of the newer ones on the scene as well that we really only started seeing, about 5 years ago. And what I'm finding is that it is the most common willow now that I'm seeing in Wareham, and it's getting progressively more common westward. Yeah. Yeah.
Everything wants to survive.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions on the board? If not, anybody in the audience or online would like to comment on this project? Seeing none?
I motion to close the hearing.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
500. The hearing is closed. Josh, your recommendation?
The recommendation would be the issuance of order of conditions with the commission's standard order of conditions.
It's an RDA.
NOI.
Yeah, it's a notice of
No,
intent.
it's a notice of intent.
Oh, sorry. Standard.
Yep. The commission's standard order of conditions with a special condition of allowing for invasive species management in perpetuity with the added condition of a notification to the commission yearly of seasonal management.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I
500. Thank you.
Thank you.
I do love that spot. So if anybody hasn't been down Station Street, it's just to the side of the Deacon's School off of Main Street. Go down there to the end, park and walk a little bit. It is just so refreshing to spend time in that place. It is just so beautiful.
yeah. With the river
Considering what
running.
had been there, a lot of work.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Next, please.
Okay, this is a request for a notice of intent for Prime Engineering, P.O. Box 1088, Lakeville, Mass. 02347, to construct a large-scale ground-mounted photovoltaic solar array on Assessors Map 64 and 65, Lot 1006, 1008, 1009, and 1010, and 100A, 100B, and 1001. 370 County Road, Wareham, Mass.
Thank you. Anybody here for this project?
So there's no one here for the project. They have not received a DEP number. And I think the commission should move away from opening hearings that have yet to have a DEP number. And we should just continue any project that hasn't received it yet. So I spoke to the applicant today, and they would request a continuance to our September 6th hearing.
Okay, but we haven't just now opened the hearing.
Then the applicant has requested a continuance till September 6th.
Okay,
And moving forward, we should not open hearings that have not received DEP
you let us know before we
Well,
open.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, because it's standard practice for me to review if projects have received their DEP number before the hearing.
so the,
Motion to, so would that motion to move the hearing then to September 6th? Is that what we have to do?
September 6th is the motion to continue.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I
Opposed, abstained. There it is, September 6th, and we will have a process in the future. If there's no DEP filing available, we will not open a hearing. All right, continued hearings. River Terrace.
So I didn't update the agenda, but they had previously requested
they-
a continuance till
they're
September
another week
6th.
away.
Yes,
There,
correct.
okay.
So that has been continued.
We've already done that, so
Already
we don't have to
continued
do
it.
it again.
Correct.
And then we have 39 Jefferson Shore Road.
Yeah. So 39 Jefferson Shore Road, the applicant is not here because where we left it, I believe the commission was ready to make a decision. We just hadn't had a DEP file number issued yet, which we now have.
76.
762806. And if you like, I can
That's right.
give a brief overview of what the project was to refresh everyone's memory.
That was putting their revetment along their failing seawall
Correct.
and removing some invasive plant material and planting with native.
I have this is the revised plan that the commission wanted
Yep.
to see. Let me zoom in here a bit. So there's a little bit of reconstructing of the existing rock revetment here. There was the addition of rock revetment from, the end of their old boardwalk to the property line. At the Butters request, they did move the staircase from the property line to the center of the property. And there's some invasive species management up on the top of the bank here where they plan to plant natives. And that's where the commission had left it.
Okay, does anybody have any questions on this one? Carol?
No questions.
Kwame?
No questions.
Michael?
No questions.
Autumn?
No questions?
Paula Jean?
No questions, thank you.
I don't have, now that we have our DEP, I think that does it. Josh, anything else to add on this one?
No, I think we flushed everything out through our hearings.
Okay.
So the recommendation would be the standard order of conditions for DEP file number 762806.
Is there anybody online or in the audience would like to comment on this project before we close the hearing? I see none.
Move to close hearing.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
500, the hearing is closed. The recommendation is a standard order of conditions.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, so we're done. Thank you very much. That is okay. The next one is 42 13th Street. We were missing Mass DEP.
Yep. So this is another project where I believe the commission was almost ready to vote and we were just missing the DEP file number. This is for the construction of a single family home within the flood zone, so it'd be elevated to meet the flood zone standards. But other than that, it really meets everything that the commission would like to see. So they have since received a DEP file number, which is 2807. So the recommendation would be the standard order of conditions for DEP file number 762807.
They did have accommodations for the roof runoff, right?
Yeah. Let's see.
I need magnifying glasses to read these things. I don't think I saw, were they going to put it on the plan?
I have the revised plan in my email. This is not the revised plan.
Okay, the revised plan have the dry wells.
It does.
Okay.
That was a condition that I had talked to the engineer about before they even got to you. So I do have the revised plan, and I'll make sure that's appropriately stated in the order of conditions.
All right, anybody to comment on this particular project? Carol?
No.
Kwame? Michael?
None.
Autumn?
None.
Paula Jean?
No,
In case I forgot whether or not I had asked already. Anybody in the audience or online? Seeing none?
Move to close the hearing.
I have a motion and a second to close the hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. The hearing is closed.
Move to accept this project with standard order of conditions.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, 500. Done. Closed. Okay. Next one we have are certifications of compliance, and Josh, this is yours.
Sure. The first certificate of compliance we have is for AP Whitaker and Sons, 3013 Cranberry Highway. This is the car wash, the car wash that was just constructed. So there were some requirements for them through the planning department for, trees and vegetation and such. But they did meet they did fulfill the certificate of compliance. So the request or the recommendation would be the issuance of a certificate of compliance for DEP number 762724.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. Now, it's quite unusual to have someone come back for a certification of compliance less than 2 weeks after completing the project.
Yeah. I did have it. I don't even want to call it a concern because it did look like vegetation was definitely starting to come in, such as the grass and everything. And foreseeing what their business is, I don't think they're going to let it go and look terrible. So,
Because there was a steady stream of vehicles going through that brand-new car wash, so I guess they're going to hopefully stay busy.
Yeah, I think they will.
All right, the next one. So you had that one's done. Next one, please.
The next one is for Diane Whitaker of 1/4 Avenue. This is an older order of conditions for the installation of a septic, and the installation of the septic went in, and then they tied into town sewer. So this is basically them just closing out what they had previously no longer are using. So the recommendation would be the issuance of the certificate of compliance for DEP file number 761446.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
500, done. One more old one over with. And the next one's just as old, if not older.
Older. Yep, so I did a site inspection for... I didn't write the street address. What's the street address?
63 Edgewater.
63 Edgewater, sorry. So I did a site inspection. Everything seems to be in order with the order of conditions. So the recommendation would be the certificate of compliance for DEP file number 761226.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? Done. Next thing on the agenda was acceptance of the minutes. I had a chance to view both sets of minutes and made a recommendation on August 2nd that Kwame was missing, and have you made that?
I noted the correction, and it's all set.
So for minutes on July 19th, 2023, Autumn was missing and Denise was missing.
Yeah.
I need a motion to accept the minutes.
Motion to
Accept the minutes. Second.
In a second, thank you. I have a motion to accept in July 19th. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained? Did you have a chance to read the minutes, Autumn, before?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So the vote is 500. The next set of minutes were August 2nd, 2023. Autumn and Kwame were missing from that particular meeting. Did you have a chance to update you on both of those? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Someone give me a motion to accept that?
To accept.
August 2nd, and motion and seconded, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, done. Thank you. I'd like to stay current with our minutes since we weren't. Okay. All right. I think we're on to the discussion of the administrative review form and application. You did some modifications for us.
Yes, and I did send that out to everyone. And I believe, with the modifications of what I currently have now, I think it kind of meets what the commission was concerned about previously. So,
All right. Everybody get a chance to review them, and any comments on them? I will take a motion to implement the Conservation Department Administrative Approval Form, and Mr. Flaherty having the responsibility for managing the topics that are listed.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. You got it. So there are a lot of, I consider them fairly simple requests here that you can handle without coming before us and having to pay for an ad and all those other things that come with. Oh. Yeah. Oh, I see you remove mowing the lawn.
yeah. So there are some things that were laid out in the Wetlands Protection Act that I think got covered within
Yeah.
what I had previously. I don't think it's a big deal if some of them disappeared from my list. I think it maybe makes it a little bit more clear.
Yep.
But so I'll have to file this with the town clerk. So it will be, the approval of this will be registered with the town clerk. And, you know, a lot of this stuff I had already been doing administratively. Now this just creates a better record of it. And I guess moving forward, if the commission would like, I can, you know, take maybe a few minutes at the end of the hearing to update you on maybe projects I've done administratively over the past 2 or 3 weeks, whatever it was.
Great, move into what's happening with the Turtle Gardens.
So actually me and Krill went out today and looked at a few properties where they would make sense to be implemented. With those applications, I said, you know, we'd like to see some type of site plan so that we know where they're going, and if they get increased or decreased in size over the years, we have some type of record of that. We actually found a box turtle while we were out in the woods today, so that was kind of interesting. She had her interns come out and work it up, which is, it's pretty interesting to watch them do it. So, yeah.
You mean take measurements and stuff like that?
They take measurements of the shell, and they actually put nail polish on the bottom of the shell so they can, you know, track if they've identified it before or not. But I know a lot of the terrapins are unique as their shell patterns and their heads are almost like a fingerprint. So they take extensive photos whenever they see a terrapin so that they can track those. And they actually, I think, get some type of microchip as well. But
And our audience, is there something you wanted to say or add before we close the hearing? Now that you sat through the whole thing, and thank you. No? Okay, so unless someone has anything else.
I move to close the hearing.
At 7:15?
716.
7:16.
At 7:16.
That's the motion.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
We can get home in time for the next Little League game.
Oh, wow.